So that's the idea of, defining your own Saturn for yourself. A lot of people spend their life in the military, and I don't want to judge people, but there's a there's a reality to moral culpability. You're responsible for your actions. Thou shalt not kill. It's not, you know, we just went through this crazy polarizing election where everybody thought the last president was a maniac trying to destroy the country. The other half of the country thinks that this president is a maniac trying to destroy the country. Meanwhile, every soldier is supposed to just trust that that guy says, drop the bomb, so drop the bomb. That's not. You're checking out of moral decision making there. You're letting somebody else make moral decisions for you. That's not responsible. That's why soldiers have such a difficult time with depression. It's such a common thing, and they wind up leaving the military because they can't deal with it. But that's part of what brought them into the depression in the first place, was being in the military, knowing somewhere deep down in their psychology there's a Saturn in there that says, this isn't right, this isn't, my integrity is being sacrificed in order to follow orders. You get just stuck following orders. You know, the other responsible thing is you gotta have a 9 to 5 job, right? You work your 9 to 5, you pay your bills, you get the house out in the suburbs and the 2 cars and all that stuff, and society will start judging you as though you're working hard and you're accomplishing things. But I don't know. Is that really growing up? Or is it sort of just a financial prison? A mortgage, a mortuary. You're stuck there till you're dead trying to pay that thing off, and you never really own that house. Right? You got to keep paying those taxes. Nothing's ever really yours. It's just temporary. It's just an illusion, and money isn't even real anyway. As long as you believe it's as real as, your faith in it. As soon as they want to, make it seem not trustworthy, you'll start freaking out, and, inflation, but it's all a belief system because there's nothing behind it. It doesn't have, all that stuff is so irresponsible. And if you're not being honest with your own psychology about those things, you're gonna not feel very good about yourself in a lot of ways, especially when you have Saturn transits. And Saturn it's so pervasive. Trying to hold your integrity together in this world is, you're being tested constantly. It's a tough world to try to, like they say, Satan's everywhere, right? What are you doing with your time? How much of it is it spent staring at a television, blindly entertained by trivial nonsense? Saturn isn't concerned with spending your time delightfully amused on the couch, shoving junk food in your face. That's not growing up. That's just being sort of a bystander in the world. And Saturn's much more about permanent creation, working towards long-term goals. It's not a passive energy. And we put all of our work towards this 9 to 5 job. I'll be honest, there's very, very few 9 to 5 jobs that aren't totally just worthless and meaningless. And in the grand spiritual picture of human development, it's all just consumerism and crap. And so most people's jobs that they need to pay the bills and all the mortgages and all the, all that kind of stuff, there's not a lot of nobility in the way that time and energy is expressed, but it's how you express your Saturn. So you get home from work and you get done with the end of the week, and it's like, it's time to play. I did all that Saturn stuff all week, all day, and so you do play, and on a certain level you deserve it. But did you really work, or were you just sort of wasting your time to get some money to pay some bills to have this house, and you'd really rather just go camping? It's a weird thing we've sort of trap, Satan's this trap. It's all of this, Satan is Saturn. It's timing, these going into debt is a trap. All this stuff, this, illusion of responsibility is a trap. We all have sort of a getting in deeper into understanding astrology is a key to understanding your own Saturn. Learning about Saturn as an archetype in particular, learning about the sign that your Saturn is in, and how that Saturn's trying to play out through that sign. And then, if you can know the time of your birth, you can find out which house in your life that energy is trying to play out in, and you can begin to redefine Saturn for you and start putting your efforts in those directions and watch the positive effects begin to just manifest. Because you're working in tune with your own harmonics then. You're not letting society, which is based on some ill, tension-filled and incoherent sort of a chord of a harmonic, and just go into your own, what feels responsible to you, what feels grown up to you. Making these videos feels like the most responsible thing I can be doing. I feel much better expressing my integrity through these videos, as best I can. And not just having spent the time learning what I've learned and keeping my mouth shut. That doesn't feel very responsible. It feels responsible to share this information because I don't find it elsewhere. And so I recognize how important it is. And so as much as I like to not say, hey, everybody look at me, because that's not my personality, I'm trying to avoid my own depression and come out of my own depression by taking on my Saturn. My Saturn's in Cancer, and so it's about my home and my family, and I'm trying. That goes back to sharing these videos on my home Facebook page to all my old friends and family and whatnot, and talking about it when I go home, and talking about it in my house, and sharing, it can be a bit much, Saturn's tough. And so a lot of my friends and family, they don't want to, I'm a heavy presence. Saturn's heavy. I'm right there with my Saturn, my heaviness. It's at home. I'm trying to help my family mature. But it's me too, because it's in my first house as well. And so it's me, but my fourth house is like the deep inner me. The first house is how I express myself, how the world sees me. The fourth house is more how I see myself, the Cancer aspect of it. That's like fourth house, really inner self. And so I'm trying to step up into my own first house sense of, Saturn, and be like, okay, here it is for all the world to see. This is what I think is most responsible. As tough as it is to hear for some people, I feel it needs to be said. I'm going to express it through my first house. It's in Cancer, so I really hope that it comes across somewhat compassionate. even though Saturn doesn't have a whole lot of compassion. And some of the things I say in some of my videos, as far as how to deal with Saturn, seem like, oh, they're tough to hear. But honesty is tough to hear when you've been avoiding it. But it's probably, as much as nobody likes to hear it, everybody needs to hear it. And I feel like, as uncomfortable as that is, that's my role. And so I get to create a bunch of uncomfortable relationships with all my friends and family. But those evolve. They're going to evolve into really profound and deep and much more meaningful relationships than they ever would have been. I'll lose some. Some people will just think I'm crazy, and probably will have a hard time talking to me anymore because they think this is all batshit crazy. But others, have sort of had a respect for my integrity throughout my life, and have maybe a reason or two to still be paying attention. And so some of my old friends and family got dragged along into this crazy ride. Some of you watching these videos have been probably into astrology for years, and you're just getting deeper and deeper and deeper all the time. I have my own little universe of people that I've known that I'm sort of trying to suck into this metaphysical sort of perspective, because I think at this point in time that's the most responsible thing. We've all been void of our metaphysical perspective. So right now in humanity, the most responsible thing we can all do is to do the work to learn that. I think that's vital for every soul. Until you start looking at the world energetically, metaphysically, you still have that work to do. That work's still coming for you. And I think why not cut to the chase and jump to the most important work? So there's a little bit on Saturn, but just remember, if you notice you're in a Saturn season, it's not forever. You don't have to suddenly become perfect. But if you start taking a step or two in the direction of personal responsibility, and redefining maturity and hard work and redefining what's worth working for, I think you start intention is really powerful in all this. If you intend to rise up to your Saturn and your inner sense of, all right, it's time for me to take responsibility for me, and I'm going to grow up and make the changes necessary. If you set that intention and you take one baby step in that direction, life will reward you. Not all at once. Saturn's not like that. Saturn, you earn Saturn. You have to put a foot in the right direction. When you put that second foot down and that third foot down in the direction of a positive intention, you start flowing. Life starts flowing with you, because life wants you to take responsibility. You want you to take responsibility. So there, I hope that helps set some people on a more positive path. A little bit more maybe honest perspective of the way they relate with maturity, and whether they're defining that for themselves or whether they're letting the way society pats them on the back, because society has all allowed society to define that stuff for them. That's the power of Satan in the Bible. That's the power of deception as a whole. But when you take deception with the Saturn archetype, you create a lot of dysfunction in the world, as is very clear to witness anywhere you look. So there, I hope somebody gets some insight out of that, and that helps. So peace. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.